for the viewers. Yeah, I met somebody today that recognized my voice. I'm like, oh, you listen to this shiur? I was in this place.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Okay, so we started last week this mitzvah, Mitzvoseha Chometz v'Achilas Matzah. Then we learned the chinuch inside. And we skipped the Kabbalah Asius. The Kabbalah Asius, he speaks about Mechin the Katnas and Mechin the Gadlus, which he's gonna get to actually in today's, in the Hemshech Inyanim. And whatever, okay. He started, yeah. What's Amunah? Matzah is to be mechazik the Amunah. What's Amunah? So he said that, so he started by saying that Hashem created the world, that we don't need Amunah for. That even Goyim, whatever it is. So when he said even Goyim, so he said on the top of Chav Gimel, yeah, he said, Ha'amunah shenisyachdo Yisrael. In other words, the famous question, why doesn't he say, in other words, all the ployim that happened by Yitzias Mitzrayim was Shinui HaTeva. Kriyas Yamsuf. The water became blood. All these things are Shinui, it's already an existing Teva, that this is blood and whatever it is, or this is water, and water functions like this. So Shinui HaTeva, but Barasi Shamayim Va'aretz Nu. So the word is the way that Tzemach Tzedek is answering it here. This is Anechi Hashem Aleikecha, the Yidden. We have a different kesher. So the Amunah by a Goy, the Amunah is on his Havus, that Eibishter creates the world, and on Kiyum. And there too there's Amunah, certain Inyonim that's not Ozav Hashem Mesa'aretz, and whatever, there's deeper Inyonim also. But by Yidden there's Nisyachta, that Mitziusi Yisbarich is Ram v'Nizgav l'mayla mebchina zu, greater than creation. And what do you mean? We just said that Eretz Mitzrayim is less. Right? Because it's only Shinui HaTeva. Now you're saying that it's more. Because the Eretz that from every possible boundary of a mugbal. I took you out. The inyan of Yitzias Mitzrayim means that a Yid has the capacity to transcend all physical limitations. Right? That's the haflah. Yeah, now, so that's number one. Now, you read a little further. So I'm just going a little bit, some Nekudis that just to highlight a little bit. Then he goes further and he says that we have to understand that the Eibishter's creation of the world is the lowest thing by the Eibishter. That's not a greatness. B'dvar Hashem Shemayim Nasu, it's Dibur. Now we refer to Daimim Semeh Chai Medaber. So we refer to Medaber as Milos HaOdom. So why, when we say the Eibishter, B'dvar, in other words, Hashem created the world b'dibur, b'dvar Hashem shemayim nasu. Why is it b'dvar Hashem v'rach? Why do we look at it? Why is it low? So there's two inyanim. One is that, in other words, in Milas ha'adam, the dibur quality is the lowest of the Milas. In other words, we are able to speak, other nivraim are not able to speak. But that's the first. When you go milmata l'maylo, the first quality that the human being has, which is actually the lowest quality, that's by the human being. So that's not a greatness. That's an eshtezach. The second thing is that the dibur is different than any other quality. Why? Because it's misyaches el azulas. So in other words, when we speak about a person's intelligence, a person's emotional capacity, all of those things, thus is far zich. The whole inyan of dibur is fayenim. So
that's who you ask.
Right. In other words, really, that's where others begin. Your thoughts and all of those things they're really too deep. The space where we recognize other people is in the world of Dibur. And that's what the meaning of Malchus is. What is the meaning, Ein Melech B'loi Am? Ein Melech B'loi Am means, what is Malchus? Dvar Melech Shilton. The whole Indian of Malchus is that without an Am, it doesn't belong. All the other qualities of a person, they're for himself. They're building of himself. But Dibur is the Chalz for Azulas. So as you see beautifully how it fits into the mind. It says, Rak l'moshel ba'adam adibur batel. And then he says, Malchusa yizbarech is nimshechas ki ei melech b'loi am. Right? So that's Nakuda number 2. Now comes Nakuda number 3. Nakuda number 3 here in the Maimer is that be'emes there's something very problematic in what the Tzemach Tzedek says here. That there's a big question, and the Rebbe addresses the question. The Tzemach Tzedek says that he throws in, let's take it right step by step. He says that the guf is tofel to the nefesh. Then he says, you have to remember that the guf has its own source of life. When the neshama leaves, b'layt guf. More than that, he says, where does the guf come from? Tipas me'ach ha'av. The guf has a source outside. The nefesh is not machaya the guf. The guf has its own. It's not the existence of the guf is not dependent on the nefesh. The guf has independent source. So be'emes, you're hurting your point. In other words, you're trying to compare the Eibishter and the world, the guf and nefesh, and then you're bringing in that the guf has its own. You understand? It's a problem. Let's read a little bit inside, and then the Rebbe addresses it. Well, I'm just going over a little bit with some added nukudas. So right now we're here. So let's read over here this nukuda. There's 2 things to talk about here. I'm just thinking about where to speak about it first. Let's read. Aval Masha Kosov. You see the first word on the line is Elikim. Aval Masha Kosov Ahakaf B'Kriyishma. When we say Hashem Echod, that's for Yidden. We say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. It's not the Indian of Melech that the Eibishter is Malchus Kol Olamim. That's on Goyim also. But by Yidden, Hashem Echad, who ha'amona b'muhusei v'atzmusei yizbarech, she'eina mislavish ba'elamis. He's not like ki espashus hanashama b'guf, hanira la'ayin kanal, that we see a living guf. We could see, the guf lived, he has a neshama. The nikra, sevev kol amin. What we are gifted with is the level of Seviv. Ulezois tamen gamkin. That's why we Yidden believe Sha'elam. V'kol asher b'ei b'teilim b'mitzias legamre etzle yizbarich. They're completely bottled, meaning they don't exist. Ve'einikim mei haguf shehu tofel l'neshama. The guf, you can't say that the guf doesn't exist. What do you mean? Of course he exists. The neshama is mechaya, the guf. He's tofel. Ahalala as Hashem ba'idi. Azamra ahalala as Hashem b'chayai. Azamra le'lekai ba'idi. What's ba'idi? Ba'idi is with my body. The body is called oid. It's the tuffle. Who am I? I am my spirit. I am my soul. And I have a body. So what's he saying here? That the world is bottled, the Metzias, completely to the Eibishter, not like the guf and the neshama. The guf is tofel to the neshama, but it's not nothing. Umikol makam hu yesh b'fnei atzmo. The guf is a yesh. Why? Lefi she'ein is havus sheirish haguf minishmazei. Why is it not bottled? So the Chura, he should have said, what do you mean why? Because the guf is mamali. Because the nefesh is mamali.
No, he's saying here why it's not a good mashal.
Yeah. You'll see later, he doesn't bring this point again. Elo mitipas avivimai. Ma she'enkin hashamayim ve'aretz v'chol tzvah.
It's why.
She'kol atzmuso nishava me'ayin ha'muchlot. So therefore, he mitelim mamish ka'er hashemesh, kishu b'guf kader hashemesh. V'zohu say that's the meaning. Ein oid. You can't even say that the world is oid. You can't even say that the world is bottled, telikus. It's nothing. She'ein afilu davar tafel. I want to explain a mashal that Rabbi Yoel brings over here. Okay, just Nikud. In Chassidus, we learn all the time about the mashal of the Keach HaZerika in the Even. Right? There's this idea when Hashem creates the world that He's propelling it constantly. That right? It can't not be. The Even. There are many different aspects of this mashal. I just want to focus on one particular nukudah. The stone has no capacity to fly. What's flying? Only the koyach of the person that's in the stone. But at the same time, the stone is in the same realm of the koyach. Even though the stone fights the koyach. It fights it, but it's overpowered. It is overpowered by it. What do I mean? Let's say somebody would say, I'm repeating just his mashal, right? Let's say someone says, my house is a Jewish house. There's not allowed to be a tzelem at my house. Someone comes and brings it in. And I'm not going to pick it up with my hand. I'm going to give svaris that it's not allowed to be there. The svaris are not going to take it out. Because the svaris are in Yeruchim. There has to be a physical power. Why does the stone move when the koyach of the hand is in it? Because they're in the same realm. So the stone, even though it's fighting it, but it's also allowing
the gravity.
It's making it possible.
It's the gravity fighting the kayak, and they're both.
But it's in that realm.
Yeah.
Right?
Because
it's
gravity
in that
means
realm.
I want to fall. Gravity means I want to fall. And no, you're not going to fall.
It's in the realm of the physical. Yes. Right? I can't, when I do this, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't, right? The koyach stays in my hand. I have to have something in which that it's going to be mislavish. The emunah of God, of goyim in the Eibishter. Even if goyim are going to say that the world is bottled, they're going to say, wow, imagine the Eibishter could create the world. If he could create it, it's like a game. It's nothing to him. Yeah, but it's like the stone and the koyach hazrika.
You're trying to say that for a guy, it's not the same realm.
It's not, the bittul ha'ilmus is of a much lower level. It's like the stone and the koyach hazrika.
I got it.
Yeah, right? Because it's all in the same realm. The world is bottled to the Eibishter. The world is bottled to the Eibishter as the Eibishter is the creator of the world. The the guf is bottled to the neshama.
Because they are
Tafel.
in the realm.
Right? They're in the realm.
Because they are in the Mitzvoseha. So they have to believe that everything is in the Mitzvoseha.
Because that's the
That's
the
where they
limit of their capacity.
Right.
When we say Hashem Echad, we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Echad, we say there is no world. Meaning that Lagabe the Eibishter, right? It's just like, the famous story that I repeated here 1,000 times, that a guy came with a sewing machine to Lubavitch. So they showed it to the Rebbe Maharash. They brought him in to the Rebbe Maharash. It was handy and this and that. So the Rebbe Maharash took it apart and put it back together. And the guy was shocked. And he went out and he's like telling the Siddim, you don't understand what kind of Rebbe you have. He's such a genius. In his world, right? It's such... He said, you take a Chacham Gadol, the biggest genius in the world, someone's going to say, wow, he's such a good tailor. It's a bizoyan. Right? By a Yid, the Hashem Echad means, Nitakim, Lagavi, the Eibishter, the world doesn't exist, period. Now, of course, we have to understand, we don't have to understand, we all know that we can't truly understand that. In other words, what the Alter Rebbe, what we read last week, is that the child, when he says Tata, he's saying Tata, and it's true, but he doesn't get it. He doesn't fully understand. It's the truth. But this is the Meichin de Katnus versus Meichin de Gadlus. Meichin de Gadlus is full comprehension. Meichin de Katnus is you understand the principles, you understand the Derech, but it's not a full comprehension. The Hashem Echad, the Darge of Elikus, the Anochi Hashem Elikecha, the Amunah that the Eibishter gave us in Seviv Kol Almin, is a challenge for us to internalize.
But it's not reachable. If a child understands his father, future he will understand better.
Right.
For us to understand Hashem, it's not...
A good example.
That's what matzah, right? So, and this is what the Alter Rebbe is saying here about the guf being tofel. What he's trying to say is not the creation of the guf is tofel. He's saying the nefesh works with the guf. In what the nefesh works, in other words, in my experience of life, in the hislapshus, the guf is still tougher. Even legabe, right? In other words, in our experience, our nefesh
like
state,
the kli of the listen,
our seichel and our midis and our nefesh, our nafshi experience, that's the ikr. The physical is tougher. Not that the existence of the guf is tougher. No. Even legabe, the parts that the nefesh lives out, experiences in the body. Remember I told you once I was learning this Pada V'Sholem from the Middle Rebbe in Shari Tshuva. He has a mind with Pada V'Sholem. So he starts off over there about the marshal of two people wrestling. So it's different, actually. Yeah. So I also, when I started reading it, I thought, oh, it's like Tanya, like Derech of Tanya. There he speaks about a different aspect. He says, when you're fighting the other person, it's not a physical fight, it's an emotional fight. Victory is emotional victory. What bothers you about the other person, the whole thing is spiritual. I'm thinking to myself, it's the most physical type of experience. And in the middle of Rebbe's hands, suddenly you realize, he's the Mamish Derech. This ultimate physical experience is really, it's emotional, it's much more, right? It's the Iker emotional experience. So, and that's what he's saying. The guf is oid, it's tafel. In other words, the existence of the guf, that's tipas hava'im, that has even nothing to do. But in the shaykhs that the nefesh and the guf have, the nefesh is the ikr, the guf is the taf. That's that's how the Rebbe explains what the Tzemach Tzedek is saying here. Yeah. Let's take a look. V'zeu mitzvahs achilas matzah, starting base.
There's another way to explain this, very simple. That this world is like the illusion. And the girl is part of the illusion. So he can't... The Yid is for real, because he's Mechovetev. He comes from Atzmas. So that's why he's able to say, this is all a dream. The whole world is a dream. Because he really comes from the space that's not the dream. But the guy...
So later on, the Rebbe explains that the neshama, before it's nislabish in the guf, the neshama has an experience of elikus in the mahus. In other words, the experience of seviv kalam in the gadlus, full comprehension. It's only because we're forced to be nislabish in the nefesh habamis that we lose that. That's right. That's the avedus atfilah.
But that's the munah, to know that.
Right. And that's the avedus atfilah. In other words, he speaks...
To know that we're connected.
No,
that it's for, that we are for real.
The bringing it down, that when you look at the gashmias of the world, you really see that it's bottle. That the meditation is so strong that when you visualize the world afterwards, it doesn't... Right, it's not Tevis Mokim. I was sitting putting by Fabrengen with a bacher, and he said something in such a matter-of-fact way, it was very impactful. He said he doesn't understand how people get so caught up by their phone if a phone is a diamond. I repeated it Shabbos. In other words, what are you looking at? It's a diamond. Right? Like, a diamond is interesting to you? You know, obviously, whatever, but it's a perspective, right? It's like for the person who knows.
Emotional. Like the Mitzvoseha would say, no, it's Mitzvoseha.
Right, really, right. For the person who makes movies, he sees that it's all, like, he doesn't get so caught up by
He's the seller.
He knows that it's a set, and he knows that it's all fake, and he knows that...
He was watching, he watching details, he doesn't watch movie anymore.
Right.
How does it make this like, how does it get this,
Right. It's a whole different experience. So, they have a different perspective. So that the Tzemach Tzedek is coming to explain the mitzvah of matzah. The chinuch is saying, look, when we eat matzah, it's a change. The whole year you don't eat matzah. You're going to remember that we were slaves and they took us out. So that memory, which is triggered by the matzah, is going to remind us of Mitzrayim. Now, the Rebbe is saying, no. It's so much deeper. What the Zohar says, matzah is dogon. Eating dogon is tinnik starts to say Abba. It opens your mind. There's a psiche in the meichin that actually eating matzah will open up for you the amuna in seviv kalam. Later in the next maimer he says what chametz is also grain. Maybe when you eat chametz you should also open your brain to. He says but it's yeshes. It's his nasus, so it pushes it away. Right? It has to be bittul. Has to be.
So ingredients makes everything. In this case, grain is different if it's matzah or yeshiv?
Yeah. Not for the tinnik, for this Indian of Amuna. So let's start Beis again. We started learning this last week. And then from Mitzrayim, he's going to talk about B'chol Der V'Dei. In Gimel, he's going to go to B'chol Der V'Dei.
This is just incredible.
Yeah.
Every year that's in Mitzarim means Gvul. This is exactly what it is.
Yeah. Mitzrayim Mechusrei Amuna. What is Mechusrei Amuna? That they're, like Gamva Pomach Tarta, that the Amuna is only Makif. Lahitzi b'nei Yisrael mizeh, laviem le'emuna amitis, the true emuna that, in other words, in Seivef Kol Alma, right? In the Eibishter that's l'mayla from Hagbala. Hoya ayidei amatzah, michla d'neim nusa. That's the way the emuna was kavua b'lib boisim. Yeah. And he brings this whole mashal with the tinnik, and let's turn the page. We read this. Yeah. Page 46. So let's start this spot here, 3 lines in. That's why we make a bracha. Remember that Chochmah is the space of Hu Levade Hu Ve'in Zulase. Chochmah is the darge that there's only a likus. In other words, Chochmah, remember that the difference between Chochmah and Bina is that Bina is the way I understand something, and Chochmah is what the thing tells me. I bring this example. I'm not trying to promote myself. I'm just saying this as a mashal. There was a time that I was studying with Noach Shal, Nusach, and page 4, and we were studying a particular Chazin's music. No, for a measure of man, like all kinds of different things from him. And then I came to him one time and I asked him about one shtikala from Yosef. He said, "How did you know?" I said, "What?" He says, "That Chazan used to sing this piece."
Wow.
Right? I don't know. The guy died in 1950, 1960, whatever.
But you were in that space.
Right. So something you didn't see, it tells you. That's right? And once in a while you get such a, as Malik the Nazach, it sends you messages. And that's the Chokhmah space versus the Bina space. The Bina space is my creativity. Right? I'm shaping it like this, I'm shaping the Chokhmah space, I'm going to be quiet. What's it going to tell me? That's why it's bittul. So that's the dogon. That dogon is shorshim chokhmah.
And
because
it's bittul, and that's why you can't have the yeshes.
Yes, right. Yesh be'akoyach lahavi hamshachas hachokhmah.
Wow.
B'bchinas mechin the kapnos shalatin canal. That's why, in other words, the child really he doesn't understand anything. How could a child suddenly say such a smart thing? Right? Every once in a while, kids, they'll make a comment. Like, wow, that's such a chokhmah. How did it come? The dogon, it plants in them this inyan of chokhmah. V'hine al derech zo inyan hamatzah. From the hemine dogon davke, which is Mitzvoseha Hashem. V'yi al yidei ze amshach as das eliki b'nefashis Yisrael. Soon we'll find a doorway. Le'slabish bohem kefi yachol tam se'es. As much as the Yidden are able to understand in a physical body, b'bechina shalamata me'adas, we can't fully understand it. And v'hu sheyikru la'avim shebashamayim, we're going to refer to Hashem as our Father. Kamei shekosov ki ato avinu. V'reitzolem. What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean to refer to? In other words, what's the idea of calling Hashem our Father? What's the purpose? In other words, there are other ways. Call him the Creator. Call him our King. Say Malkeinu. What's the idea of Avinu? So he's saying. So what the Alter Rebbe is saying is the idea of Avinu is a very deep sense of connection that's higher than we truly understand. Just like a little child, that they know that it's their father, but they don't understand how, but they know it in their full. He says, shetikba b'libaisam emuna hanal. It becomes clear. Tzemach tzedek. B'mosei b'atzmusi yizbarich, ich shu mereimim l'mayla mayla mikefi ma shenira la'ayin bilvad. You know, in certain things we do muscle memory. Right? Like let's say a person plays the piano. So they learn a piece, they don't have to remember. Let's say when you type on the keyboard, you don't have to check each time. It's like automated. It's like your muscles have a memory. The word emuna, imun, means exercise, repetition, practice. We practice our relationship with Hashem until it becomes right, automatic, so clear of the Eibishter. Yeah, of course, the Eibishter. What Tzemach Tzedek is saying is that for a Yid, the depth of, when we say the Eibishter, you know, also like, you know, another mashal from Rabbi Yoel, he says, of course, you know, some kids, they look up at their parents for certain qualities. Oh, is the, you know, such a quality, this quality, that quality. But they're missing the point. It's your father. It's not about the qualities. I remember my kids were small, so I have a shwager who was a kohen. So so I came home, and we from davening, whatever, and my little kid, he was like 4 years old or 5 years old, he turns to his cousin and he says, my tati is a chazan. And my cousin says, and his cousin says, my tati is a kohen. They're right. In other words, the Ata of Vinu, the Eibishter, is the Father. It's the greatest thing, and it's not about a certain quality, and it's beyond anything we understand. That's the Amunah. Greater than what we see. What do we see? We see that He's Machaya the Olam, Kineshama Beguf, but it's higher than that. It's greater than that. The truth is that the fact that Hashem brings the world into existence, it happens b'meila. It's not by being involved. And that's why the oilam is batul b'metzias ha'kolam mamish chashiv. And it's not even bechinas oil. It's not even tafel. It's mamish, the world is not.
It's an illusion. That's what it is. But a yid is not. That's
here he's not speaking on that nakuda. Yeah. Now, I don't know that we read farther than this last time. A little bit. Hine be'emes kol Yisrael ha'aminim b'nei ha'aminim be'emunas oimen emuna kavua v'yaseid baltimit chas v'shalom. This is part of a pasuk. The emuna is firm. It's a mighty emuna, like a peg that you can't budge. Ad sheyuchal, it's so strong. Ad sheyuchal limser nafshi al kedushas Hashem yizbarich. It's so strong, meaning it has such a firm grip on me that I'm ready to give up my life. You know, the famous Barditchever, you know, that if you're looking for something that's bootleg, that's illegal, counterband, you know, you're looking for drugs, you can find it. But if you're looking for chametz on Pesach, you can't find it. You know, he said to the ruler, your decree, you're alive, and they don't follow your decree. And the Eibishter gave 3,500 years ago, and for no money in the world, you're not getting the. So the Emunah is so strong, even though it's Meichin de Katnas, that we don't even fully understand Seven Commandment. But somehow it has such a firm grip. The Emunah is so strong, yes, at Baltimit. And nevertheless, Mikol Mokaim, Harein Masiga Inyan, Mal Mahusa Yizbarich, we don't understand it fully. We don't understand Bitlo Elam Mitzias Mamish, like Ziv Hashemesh B'Shemesh, She'ein Aziv Nira Klal, that in the sun we don't see the ray. Ve'kan Raya Ha'elam. We see a world. Ma'achmas She'ein Raya, we don't see Mahus HaChayis Shabbat. And in order to understand it, we have to think about it. We say, oh, nothing makes itself. There must be a creator. He imagines sha'elam batel. And if we would see the chayas of the Eibusher in the world, we wouldn't see the gashmis b'chal. Like it says in Tanya and Shaykhad Gomuna. This knowledge that we have, that the world is batel to Hashem, is incomparable with the truth. It's like a little child saying Tati. That he says, to truly understand what a father is. Right? That what does it mean that what do we understand? We understand the hashpala, a lowered form from the way it is by the Eibishter. Sheyedeas atzmei, ubiyediyah zu yedeas kol hanivraim, umachaya esam ayedeyediyah zu. Vehem betelim biyediyah zu kashir hashemesh b'shemesh. That's the truth of the concept. That's the pure idea. The Eibishter knows himself. And in the knowledge of himself, he knows the world. And the knowledge of the world is what gives the world its whole existence. Hine yediyah zu nisamtzema v'nislabsha b'levushim v'alomin ad shetehem museges b'das ha'odam sheyeda kol ha'inyan ha'amiti alos. He understands the whole concept. Elo she'eina yochel litfes atzmi yesadav k'meishu b'dati yizbarach. You can't understand it the way it is mamish by Hashem. Rak tamtzis ha'inyan b'kitzur that heyese yochel u'miyuchel shekol ha'kamei chalach hashir shezeo yedea b'daita. Since we can't understand it fully, come now, like we mentioned, it's through matzah that the Yidden absorbed this idea, that they changed, that they were no longer like Goyim. Shalai hispik lahachmitz. What's chometz? Hachometz meire al b'chinas hayesh. Shal mitbach, the nigba, it's blown up, it's inflated. That's bina. Hainu b'chinas bina. What's bina? Bina is I understand an idea. You know, sometimes, I'm sorry to say it like this, I'm on camera. Sometimes when my wife asks me to tell her, you know, we went somewhere. She says, how was the wedding? I start telling her my opinion. She's like, I didn't ask you for your opinion. Tell me what happened at the wedding. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do that. Every time I open my mouth,
it's from your lens.
I start parshanut, explaining, oh, this one looked tired, and right, you know. No, tell me what happened. You know, don't tell me your mices. So the chometz is inflated. What's inflated? Your understanding
the 2 cents
is mixed in. It's not pure anymore. That's bina. And there's Derech, and there's Reichev, and there's Yesh. Hashenkin and Chochma, Kayachma, Bittul Betachlis, Kulach Mekaloch Hashim. So this idea, Nishpula Yediyah Zu Lamata Me'asoga, V'akein Eine Nigba V'nitbach. The Eibishter gifted us with Chochma. It came down to us in purity. V'zeu Soid Ure'ei Emunah. It's a tremendous thing what he's saying now. It's an added Nekuda. He's saying that the Eibishter, what's Ure'ei Emunah? That even when it's going to be in your Bina, it's going to remain Emunah. That's what he's saying. Even when you internalize it, you're not going to blow it up. You're going to stay pure. Right? That's the... Bring in the Emunah. Al Derech HaKabbalah, that's the union of Mat. That's what he's explaining now the Arizal. Zeu said, שהמצה היא מכין דקטנוס דאבא, שנמשכים לנוקבה. It's coming from Chochmah. It's meichel the katnus because we don't understand it fully. But it's coming down and it's going all the way down the nukva. It's going down all the way to our life. Reitz leimar shenimshachim lezo umizo lenukva alidei ha'agoda.
In its purity. That's why we eat the matzah. So you go inside and it should stay matzah.
I don't know the...
Where we're holding?
I don't know the Rosh Tevis here. I wasn't planning on this. Mashakosov B'Yitzchayim was the God was Sheni Daba, Gam Ken Yishleim, the Achremes Bilvan, was B'Yitzchayim is Firas HaHimer, Shalakach Nizu God was Daba, Masha Shnei Yomim B'chol Shavua Chayin Shom. We're back to the Kabbalah. Pirush, Shebibchinas Mechin the God was the Abba, Hunyim Gilui Atzmis Chachmosi is Barich. It's something. So, when we receive it, it's beginner's katnus. Now, another few minutes. Just like when they left Mitzrayim, they received the emunah through eating matzah b'peil. Kav gam kein nitztavu al achilas matzah l'doris. There's a mitzvah for now to eat matzah, kidiksi. But if techlu matzahs, hakosuv kavay chayva. The Torah said it as a decree. Ki be'emes tzorich liyas b'chines yitzias Mitzrayim beruchni as gamata. We have a mission, we have a charge to experience Yitzias Mitzrayim now also, meaning we didn't leave Mitzrayim once. Now there's Yitzias Mitzrayim. Why? Kihine b'Yisrael yesh beis nefashos. Nefesh habahamis hanimshechas miklipas noiga. Klipas noiga is shesham shoyresh ho'ayin umus. Right? Olam ha'asiyah Sholosh klipas atmeis is an Olam ha'asiyah. In Yetzirah, you don't have already Sholosh klipas atmeis. In other words, in the Ruchni is like a world, maybe even in Asiyah Ruchnis, you don't have. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, Sholosh klipas atmeis, where is Sholosh klipas atmeis? You know, like we say, Elam HaBriya is miutra, Elam HaYetzirah is 50-50. Elam HaSiyah Rumei Kekule. Sholosh klipas atmeis, Elam HaSiyah Gashmi. The shayrish of the Goyim is this Ayin Sorim. The Ayin Sorim are klipas noiga.
That's as good as you can get.
Right? The Ayin, it's a shayrish. It's not. So the Ayin Sorim. So that's why our Nefesh HaBahamis is Goyishkeit. Because that's the shayrish. From the Ayin Umas, the Korulei, Elokode Elokaya, the Chinas Yesh, they recognize Hashem, but Amma Metzias too. Nefesh Olikis, Yi, Chelek Elokam Yimal, Ve'ed Elamayla, this is what we were saying before, Elamayla Gam En HaMalochim. Hagam Sheim Chinas Bittul. Even though Malachim are also in a state of Bittul, Tzvah Shamayim L'cham Nishtachim, which Tzvah Shamayim includes Malachim, Mikom Gem Ein Lem Hasoga B'Muhuz V'Atzmis V'Elikus Mamish. A Hasoga in the Muhuz they don't have. In other words, a Hasoga in Seivid they don't have.
They don't have idea to call Hashem a father. That's not at all. They do not even try it.
Sha'arei Heim B'chinas Yesh B'Nifrodim. They're Metzias. What are Malachim? One of the titles are Sichlim Nifrodim, yeah? Because what separates one from the other? The way they think. Sichlim, so Sichlim Nifrodim. They're ultimate Metzias, no? A real Yesh. The Ilo Haya Erin Seif Mizgala Alei, and if Seviv Kol Almin would be Mizgala on them, Haya B'Telim Metzias.
They would stop arguing. I'm not arguing.
Kameshu Kamei Elo. Shem is having me ayin liyesh. Aidei atzimtzum. Behele mo'er me'asagosum. It's concealed from them. Nevertheless, why? What makes them batal? Very interesting how he says it here. That they know their source. Just the fact that their source is exposed to them, that makes them batal. Right? Like the marshal of someone who knows that this doctor saved his life. The fact that you see it, so you become batal. You feel like you owe him your whole life. So they see, in other words, they experience that they're not their own mitzias. Al yidei yidi yasam Shem is having the ayin. They know. Zeh nikra katnus al derech hadas, being that they're not able to be masik seviv kalam.
So it's not the good, it's the
So they're true elikus, but to legabe them, the muhus of elikus, they don't know. So because they don't know the muhus, that's why it's katnus again. He's speaking now about a neshama without a guf. A nefesh elikis on its own. Shehi elikus mamash. The einon nifrodim klal. On the neshama, right? We have to remember that we say, Malach Michol is Ava, Machna Michol is Ava, Machna Gavriel, Yir. In other words, what is a Malach? A Malach embodies a quality. He can't change. He's always only in one thing. But this is him. So it's a Metzias. He fights for it all, right? All the way. There's no tikkun. It's toyu. That's where he's expressed.
They can't make peace and see something from the same lens, like humans do amazingly.
Yeah. So,
different perspective.
Mashayke and Neshama is the whole Indian of a Neshama is bittul. The whole Indian of a Neshama is altruism. The whole Indian of a Neshama is not me. It's also Alziana. A Nefesh Elikis has no mitzias. Like the Alter Rebbe explains in Perek Yutes of Tanya, what is Kedusha? Kedusha means something that's transparent. Right? What's batul? Kol masha batul etzli is batul b'poil mamash. Right? That's on that you could say that it's Kaddish. So a nefesh elikis is Kaddish. Shomus Yisrael nimshach nechemad b'chol is elikos mamash. They're not separated from that. They're mamish. In other words, we're not nivra from Dvar Hashem. Remember what we said before, that dibur is the lowest part of the person. It's the part of the person that relates to other people. The Yidden were created from Hashem's machshava. Hashava is for himself, right?
The
Malachim are also from dibur, right? It's not. B'dvar Hashem Shemai over Malachim Ruach Piv Kol Tzavam, right? B'dvar Hashem Shamayim Nasu, so Shamayim uBeruach Piv Kol Tzavam Tzva Shamayim are Beruach Piv from the Malachim. In other words, the Malachim are Ruach Piv from the Eibishter. The Yidden are Machshava. Machshava is for himself, so we're Meuchad with the Eibishter. The Hoyu, before we came into the Guf, they had a true experience. And that's godless. That's where the neshama comes from. The nefesh elikis was lowered. And it was lowered even Gam in Madregas Malachim Kama. The Yoisa Yesh Gomor. The Nefesh Habamis Mamish is a Yesh Gomor, meaning he's not Margish as Mocker. There's no bittul. There's Yesh Gomor. Kedei Shetapech Isa. To bring it to emunas oimen, practice, repeat, training to the nefesh habamis. Shezol bechinas bitul hayesh, and it's katnus. It's not a sophisticated. It's not a high level. Zeu seid yitzias Mitzrayim shetzorich liyas b'kol yom mamish ad sheyagia lemer b'krishma avaya lekenu avaya echad, meaning that he should declare the Achdus Hashem the way it is for the Nefesh Alikis. Shezeu mashem es yachad l'neshomis Yisrael kanal. V'gam Nefesh Abahamis tishapech al yidei zel adei azul. She'arei hu masig u'mizbeinim b'seichel anushi sheminav she'abahamis kiyadua. He understands. He also has a seichel. V'zeu seid ma'amer azal. This is the meaning of Pnimius of the Gemara. Hamispalo, one who davens. Tzorich sheyitin einov lamato v'libe l'maylo. Libe l'maylo is his beinus b'mosiv atzmosi is barech sheich shumerumen v'nizgov mikol ha'emes. Ein ha'reichel of kidom avoy l'maylo v'makom macha ba'arichos. You have to shoot for the stars in his beinus. You have to think about seviv. Mikol mokem tzorich litin einov lamata gamkin. Tahainu alo elam mishim chinis yesh v'dover. You have to look at the Metzias of the world. V'sheyaskil. Eich shehem b'bchin is bittul. U'mishavim tamid me'ayim k'meshn is ba'alil. Ki k'sheyeh rak is beinus b'muhusiv atzmusi is barich. When he's only going to think upwards. Hine acharat tefillah. When he finishes davening. Ki sheyiftach einov. He's going to open his eyes. V'yira ha'olam u'milu eliyesh v'dover. He's going to see, wow, so the Agresis at 5th Avenue. Yuchalipo mimadrigose. He's going to fall down. The Yilkaid, the Mitzudis, Taivas Oilam, is going to fall into the trap of Taivas Oilam. First, he's going to want to have a little Taiva, but he's not going to realize the way Oilam Haza works. You take a little taste, and then it swallows you up. And what happens then? V'yase hayesh iker. The Metzias of the world, that's going to become the whole pursuit of his life. Hisif einecha ve'inenu. You look at him and he's gone. All the elikus is gone. The isboinus is gone. The connection to the Eibishter is gone. But if a person davens, if when he davened, he was thinking about the world. He brought it in. He's not going to fall. Because it's clear to him in the physical world.
It's grounded.
Zeu Soid Ata Hareisa Vadas. We'll continue with the Zeu Soid next week in Mitzvoseha.
But with it.
Yeah.